Okay. Nobody panic. Nobody panic. Everything is under control. We totally have this in the bag. Oh boy, okay. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Ready? Rolling for curiosity. How is it going? I introduced you as Nerds.WAV. Would you be willing to introduce you on a first-name basis to the rest of the internet?
I'm Oliver. I'm Danny.
And I'm Matt.
Awesome.
Hello, Internet.
Yeah, all
Each
those
individual person on the internet.
That's right. All those single digits of people that will be consuming this content.
Hundreds of things.
Literally half dozens.
Hey, do you know what? To get there, we only need 2 more people. Okay, that's not bad.
Whoa, that's true. I'll just call my mum.
That's only because there's that's only because there's 4 of us here already. So
Start small, you know.
Does the cat count?
Can the cat log in from its own ISP provider? Because then yes, it does. Damn. This is gonna be a blast. Quickly plug who you are and what you do. I don't want to say I'll give you all the flowers, of course, because you deserve them. But I don't want to say things incorrectly. So.
Well,
the main thing's the podcast.
Yeah.
That is the
yeah. D&D actual play podcast, roughly based on 5e rules.
Yeah.
Roughly.
The ones we remember.
With some flair.
Yeah. The ones we like. Yeah. Rule of cool is king.
And I don't know, I'd say what variety streamers on Twitch currently?
Yeah, we're trying to narrow. We say we're going to do something and then we get bored. Yeah. But we're kind of leaning into rock band a lot at the moment.
Yes.
So.
But obviously, Spooktober is coming up.
Yeah, we're going to go to Spooktober.
Yep.
And you know what? This might be my own weird bias and or kink, but you guys being grumpy and or terrified is one of my favorite things. So
don't worry, that will change in time. Yeah, we should have drank beer. We should have, yeah.
But you what was you guys there's a period where you were playing I forget the name of the game. The
Dungeons and Dragons.
No, that's the podcast. That you were streaming the Viking Afterlife survival game.
Valheim.
Valheim.
Yeah. And my favorite part was when the sun would go down and you guys would get real nervous.
We play a lot of games where we get real nervous when the sun goes down. We did 7 Days to Die as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
And Minecraft.
I'm pretty sure I requested a number of times for you guys to play Dead by Daylight for that reason.
Yeah, I've never played that.
Yeah, well, maybe that's something to put on the list.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean this genuinely from a place of love. I don't mean that I like seeing you guys hurt or scared. I mean that your response. I mean that your response, thematically to being frightened while you're on screen is magic.
And your best classic phasmophobia
your best
clip.
whether it's in the podcast in which you're playing Dungeons and Dragons supposedly and or streaming. Yeah, we are spin take. Regardless, when you guys are tense, nervous, scared, frightened, mad at each other, that is when your best moments come. And half the time, it's not even in character. It doesn't matter. It's still the best parts.
I genuinely think that last Halloween episode we did, where I separated you two,
that was fun.
Had very much that vibe. And
100%.
Yeah. That was fun.
So last of the promos, because I say this openly to anyone that listen. Your podcast, your D&D podcast, is my favorite actual play, hands down. Still is. No one has topped it.
I'm still glad that it is.
and I openly watch and listen to both Dimension 20 and Critical Role.
They're quite small players.
But I put your storytelling, chemistry, and I would even say comedic chops on their level.
I mean, we have the better Matt.
You do. It's in your mind.
I've said it. It's out there now. It's on the internet.
Yep.
Create drama. Yeah,
so yeah.
I want to be with them.
And the thing that I love is at the end of every episode, one of the many things, is that at the end of every episode, you give the little this is the show where we make a narrative using Dungeons and Dragons, and I love that because it's, I don't know if you meant this on purpose or not. As much as you guys play D&D, you guys are telling a winding, long-crafted epic story with the three of you. And that is a different thing than simply playing an actual play. And I don't know if that is what you set out to do, but you have succeeded mightily, in my opinion.
Narrative has always been my goal, because I love storytelling as well.
You're the one claiming that at the end of the episode every time, so that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that I've always enjoyed storytelling. It's something I've wanted to practice because I've never been formally trained in it or anything. So it's kind of for me, it's a good experience because we're with friends. It's a safe place. You can just be let's do the fun thing that you want to do and get better at it.
Well, tell me again why I'm posting this on the internet. Then I should be doing it in that's not. Oh no.
Because while we do all this, we still are really fickle humans, and we just want a little bit of attention.
Yeah, just some validation.
You're all still part cat. You want the attention, but from across the room.
Yeah, look at me. No, that's enough now.
Attention on my terms.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, I love it. Awesome. But I genuinely view you guys as friends, which is why I so openly support you on top of enjoying your stuff. And then every time we've interacted, I've really enjoyed collaborating.
It's always
so. Before you guys start crying, we're gonna switch it up a little bit.
On a sappy note,
it's okay. We can cut all this out, and I'll start being mean again. And it'll be perfectly fine.
We should say we have been cutting onions.
That all being said, and you might you're around for a couple of weeks, so you might have to rehear that whole shebang a couple more times. But you guys have an interesting thing in your minds, which one or some of you have been diving into Baldur's Gate recently.
Yeah, that's
I personally have not, and I know I'm pointing on the screen, but they don't know. You have not played Baldur's Gate yet. For those who don't know, Baldur's Gate is a video game. It is a role-playing video game, and Baldur's Gate is, I believe, a place or city or town or world in the Dungeons and Dragons books, right? Like the actual companion books.
So it's the sort of the most famous D&D setting, I guess.
Forgotten
Realms. That whole stretch of coast.
Forgotten Realms. Thank you. I only sound not sure of it because I've never played or DM'd a module. I've only used the game to tell my own stories. Which is why Dungeons and Wizards of the Coast hates me, because I've literally played for free just knowing the rules.
Well, they hate all of us, otherwise they'd write their module books better.
Shade out there.
I tried to run Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and it is the worst laid out book. It is horrendous.
I feel they have that problem with a few of the ones where it's here's some bits and pieces that you could use for a campaign, and we'll loosely tie them together in a way that maybe makes sense.
Yeah.
But then they do have better ones that are this is start to finish an adventure.
Yeah.
Curse of Strahd, their classic one, which one day we will actually get to play.
I haven't even looked through the book in that, to be fair, because we were playing it, so I didn't want to spoil it.
There's a few that I'm I refuse to read this because I do want to be a player in it at some point one day.
There's a couple books that I've found wandering game stores. One of them, I don't even know the name of him. It was, I don't know the name of the cover was gold.
Okay.
Yep. Right.
Gold cover.
It reminded me of the NES Zelda game that came in the gold cartridge.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Majora's Mask.
There you go. But it was a collection of heist themed.
Oh yeah, that was a recent one, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was a special edition cover version of that book.
Yeah, Golden Vault or something.
Yes, that one.
Golden Vault, yep.
And what I liked about that one was it wasn't a beginning to end. It was here are prompts for specific missions that you can put. That I like.
Yeah. They're like Tales from the Yawning Portal.
That's the exact one I was going to say. Yeah. I think the Candlekeep Mysteries ones is the same as well, isn't it? Where they're like, oh, here's like a level 1 adventure you could run, a level 5 adventure you could run, level 7.
So swap to the Witcher one when I've been prepping for that. There's a couple of books like that that are just like, here's a load of standalone adventures that you can kind of just shove into wherever you.
Yeah, and it's weird because I feel like Ghost of Saltmarsh was trying to do that, but did it not well.
But the weird thing about it is I think it's the first 3 adventures in the Saltmarsh book they're a run-on story, because one of them is that lizard folk lair that is. So this whole adventure, this lizard folk lair, in the book, it's set out as if it's a combat encounter, like a massive
like
dungeon
crawl.
Yeah,
so you've got the whole map's there as well.
The whole map, you've got the whole map of the whole lair. It's absolutely bloody enormous.
It's like 30 rooms,
full of enemies. Yeah, it's absolutely reamed full of lizard men, and they got there having not aggroed the lizard men.
We made friends with the lizard men.
Yeah, they made friends with these lizard men on the beach. Because I'd done this like. The beach bit wasn't in the book. I was like, I need an intro for this. So I did this beach section where they went to a cave and there was a couple of lizard men in there, with the expectation that they were just going to see lizard men and be like, oh, they're lizard people, let's kill them. And they didn't do that. They made friends with the lizard men.
Which is good character arcs.
It's great.
That's one of our that's one of the moments that makes us look like better people.
It definitely does.
I feel like that's
I was expecting Fireball.
I think partly coloured by the fact that having played with you for so many years, where Dan loves to play a lizard folk.
I do love a lizard man. Yeah.
So I was just like, well, I assume they're going to be an important NPC.
I never see them as hostile because I'm so used to you just loving them so much.
So why do they all have yellow borders instead of red? What's that about?
So when they got to this lair, this dungeon crawl, they just walked in, spoke to the leader of the lizard men, and they're like, yeah, we're friends. It's cool. Let's chill. No worries. And then they walk back out again. It's like a 20-page adventure, and it's just done in half an hour.
Didn't give us the 2 level ups for doing it.
No, you didn't earn it. There's no XP is not earned for conversation.
See, well, there's a good point about Baldur's Gate actually, because in Baldur's Gate 3, if you have a group of enemies and you talk your way through the situation rather than fighting them, you get all the XP.
Oh,
as
that's
if
cool.
you killed them.
Yeah, because it's still an encounter. You've turned it into a social encounter instead of a combat encounter.
Oh, that's awesome. I like that.
Yeah,
also,
I
need to warn you guys. We're still introducing what Dungeons and Dragons is. We haven't gotten to Baldur's Gate yet.
Oh, sorry. Tangent.
No, I'm
straight away.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
That was a great job bringing it back on point. Because I was going to go into like 2 more tangents that were not related. So, Baldur's Gate, as we brought up the term, is a place in the world of Dungeons & Dragons in the Forgotten Realms, and also has a 3-game-long video game series. And the third one recently came out, and people are crying happy about it. And I have not played it yet, but I have played a number of similar style video games from not D&D branded universes. And I also have played D&D and other dice-based role-playing games. And there are, I think, some good things and bad things and strong differences in those 2 things that I think are fun to explore.
Yeah, because obviously that transition from a pencil and paper game to a computer game plays very differently, because there is both less scope to just role play things.
Yeah.
Because obviously in your imagination anything is possible.
Yeah,
but
you can't code every eventuality. Yeah.
Exactly. I feel like they've done a good job though.
They have.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things.
I think coding for eventuality is the whole AI feature where robots kill us. So let's not do that.
No, yeah,
that's terrifying.
Or will they just want to play D&D with us?
Maybe they will. Robot DMs.
They're just gonna OP everything and like
slide in your robot DMs.
I did know someone who they went to a local, or I won't say what the shop was, but they went to a local shop to play Dungeons and Dragons. They'd never played it. The shop already had like one. It was quite a small shop. They had one existing table that was like a long running campaign. They were like, "Sorry, we don't really have anything for you." So they just went home and used ChatGPT to be the DM. Apparently, it was okay.
But then,
There are rule books and other systems as well that are play it yourself, like
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
like games as well that you can do like single player, and you like the like choose your own adventure books from like
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
childhoods. Like
Yep.
I bought
Fighting
one
fantasy
recently that I lent to you. It's
Yeah.
really fun.
I've
Just me
mentioned this
sitting at
in
home
my
reading books. Nice.
hold on 2 episodes ago. No. When this comes out, I will have mentioned this 3 episodes ago. But
The Loomis verse.
my brain
And there's
is
a clip of that right now.
But in single player games, I've done. Have you guys played the Fighting Fantasy or read the
Yep.
Fighting? Yeah. Okay.
I
I think
have
they're a
first
British
yeah.
book series, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, Dan has like all of them.
I have all of them. Yeah.
Oh,
They're
yeah?
so good. Classic. Yeah.
Oh, I was just about to trash them, but no, I'm kidding. I've got.
If you got the original covers, like
Oh, nice. Yeah. I
definitely
think the one
something
I
to be
got,
said for those.
I got for Lydia a couple of years ago, so it didn't have the classic cover, and it was one of the newer ones. It was written by I want to say Rhianna Pratchett, Terry Pratchett's daughter,
okay.
Ah.
who also she's a video game writer, like writes the plot for RPG.
Oh,
video
really?
games. Yeah.
That's cool. I did not know
Yeah, I
that.
didn't know that either.
Yay! Awesome.
If you press the button, will it come up?
And too bad we don't have Google to fact check me, so everything I'm saying is true.
Yeah, we'll just take you at face value.
That's
so.
what's great about the podcast. It's
No,
just like we
right?
can just pause and go, let's just Google that. What we were talking about was rubbish.
And yet we'll still put it in.
Yeah.
The only part of that I'm not sure about is actually her first name, and I feel bad about that. But everything else is true.
You guys fill, I'll have a look.
Nice.
Yeah.
But so the main thing that I've noticed
You're right,
comes
it's Rhianna
down.
Pratchett.
It is Rihanna.
Yeah.
Nice. I know things that I don't even realize I know.
History roll, natural 20.
Yep. I think there has been an evolution of how the tabletop role-playing game is played in pulp culture versus how it was originally played when they were like being brought up, or like first, second, third editions.
Yeah.
And I think the evolution of how those games are played has made the biggest difference between tabletop and video game. Because originally it was the tabletop games were spin-offs of tactic
War
games.
games.
Yeah, war
yeah.
games. But instead of being a battalion, you were
That's
yeah.
it.
yeah. Instead of being a battalion, you were an individual in the battalion, basically.
Yeah.
And because of that, the stats came into effect way more like hardlined. There was more of a making sure you're eating your rations, make sure like doing the battle tactics were based on like your individual working with your teammate and all that fun stuff, which still exists. Like that's what the stats of your character are. But I do think I don't know where it switched, and I only started playing role playing games in 5th edition after watching Critical Role.
Yeah.
I know deep inside I should have played them all my life, but
We all come to things at different times, though.
Yeah,
like,
that's
there's
it.
plenty
You know,
of things I wish I'd done younger.
It's
but...
being while I am an extrovert and highly sociable, being an extrovert and highly sociable is actually a giant curse as a child, because you have a lot of named like cohorts but no real close friends. So there was I never had like teammates that I hung out with after practice. I never had like I'm what you call a social nerd. So like this is my favorite thing in the world right here, right now, what we're doing.
Yeah.
The thing I'm doing with people is secondary.
Yeah. That's
So
fair.
like the things I enjoyed doing and the people I enjoyed the most never meshed as a child, because it's friendships of convenience. Like you happen to be here, I happen to be here, and now we're just hanging out. And either we become like lifelong friends because of convenience, or one of us is the other one's bully. Like those are basically the only two.
That's just an endless. Like,
But so anyway, that's not the point of the story. The point is I found D&D or role-playing games after I had done comedy and improv and worked in theater through like high school and middle school and elementary school, and like that side of me was like, oh, this is the same thing, but the people I'm playing with are my audience, which, like you mentioned, I don't know if it was on air. It's a safe spot where you can prove to yourself you have something that the outside world might not know.
Yeah.
Hopefully they do know, because I mean, if we have some weird nugget of talent of being charming, I do hope that we're able to do it in the real world as well. But maybe
I don't get to
maybe that's what makes playing the games fiction. Is
Look at me, I'm successful in this.
I was gonna say, for me, it's just being able to get a long rest and feel good at the end of it.
Yeah,
it's all just levels of exhaustion from here on out.
My personal trainer self, and when my wife actually wrote the blog post years ago, wrote a post on equating the points of long rest in real life. And realizing like how much work it is to get back once you hit exhaustion, like it's not, yeah.
I think there's a base as well. The second you hit 30, you just always have one. You can't get rid of that.
Yeah, that's it. I've got
That's true.
On all my ability checks now.
Yeah. There is a level of ingrained habits, and the longer we're stuck in those. No, I don't mean good or bad. It just the reason it hurts more to start working out when we're later in life is not because our body can't take working out. It's because the new thing we're doing is further away from what our body's used to. And it's not being out of shape. It's that like the way we sit, the way we walk, the way we've leaned on counters our entire life all piles up into how our nervous system works. So the first time you go,
I think I'm on here to be attacked.
So the first time, and it's not actually an age thing. It's it's specific movement tied to relative movement in experience. Anyway, I'm gonna cut that out because that's not what we're here to talk about. That was just for us. I do think the difference, getting back to my original point, is that the idea of looping in the narrative and stories and using the stats as a guide rail, not the reason you're there, has kind of been a newfound thing. I could be wrong. Or if it's not been a newfound thing, people are more open to it than they used to be.
I think just generally humans as a species want to tell stories. I mean, we've got.
I mean, yeah, the fish was this big. No, it was this big. Like it.
Yeah, we've got oral traditions going back all of history. We want to tell stories, like, you know, by the campfire, in the night, we'd tell stories of gods and demons and all these things. Like it's just something that's inherent to humans. And I think having games like D&D where there's a framework and
it's a writing prompt.
It's a writing prompt, and you have like, oh, well, I've given myself a good stat in this, so you know the character would be able to tell this story better or talk to this person.
Or the classic one, your int stat. It's like, well, I wouldn't know that because I'm dumb. Or trying to play an actual intelligent character and going, guys, I don't think I can do this.
Yeah. And it's always frustrating to play a character with high intelligence and still be counting the dice on your hands.
I always do that, and I'm like, well, my character would be able to solve this problem, so tell me the answer.
Yeah, so I do think if you compare the idea of the stats on a sheet to the idea of the stats in like campaign setting in the video game, I do think they line up very well. I think the idea of like choose your dialogue and my character does this versus that totally makes sense. That and like, I don't know if you've ever played them, but like text-based RPGs are very, very similar. I do think the biggest difference is in the wide open imagination part that the video game cannot replicate.
Well, I think it's a bit like when you're playing an RPG, it's almost like your DM has you sticking to his plan. Which never happens when you play. Really.
Don't I know it?
So you know. So it's like,
apparently there are groups where that is a thing, and the DM gets really mad if
I'll believe it when I
go
see
off. those groups don't last long, and those and most of those DMs are angry people on the internet now.
Oh, yeah,
It's one of those things though. Yeah, you play a computer game and the visuals are already there. You're tied into that. They might be gorgeous, and don't get me wrong, Baldur's Gate 3 has amazing visuals.
Yeah.
But like
Alfira.
but just like the landscapes and stuff, then really make you feel part of something, which is great. But at the same time, you don't get any input into that. Whereas I feel like when you play around a table with your friends, you collaboratively make that. Like the amount of times you guys have added something, and I've gone, you know,
it's normally ridiculous,
that's a great idea. Like, because one person can't think of everything. Like it's something that, like, again, it's storytelling with friends is why I love it so much, because you're like, oh, what did you do? Well, we hung out, we got a pizza, and we made up a hilarious story about some goblins for 4 hours.
I think that's it doesn't, obviously the podcast is that, but with quite a rigid rule set mostly. But when we play Blades in the Dark, because Blades in the Dark is, I don't know if you're aware of that.
I love Blades in the Dark.
Yeah, so that's a really, really rules light system.
I want to play more of that.
It is so much fun. The stuff that we have got up to, and that I think we've only had like 3 or 4 sessions.
I've only played it the one session.
I think we've had 3. And because that's like on our normal non-podcast days to play games. We fill in with other things.
It's kind of annoying because it's normally me who can't make it because I work away a lot. And then I'm also playing Blades in the Dark. I'm like, damn it.
The first
that we could like.
You go. Sorry.
No, carry on.
The first game I ever got to perform as an actual play was a homebrewed Blades in the Dark series.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
What was what change was the homebrew?
I've never actually played from the Blades in the Dark book. So I have no idea I don't know what the difference was. But the way the game is run, and the character sheets and like how the stats worked and stuff was Blades in the Dark. But and I could be wrong. Blades in the Dark does the flashbacks, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, is that where you can go and change?
What happened? So you can say, well, that might be what happened, but because I put dynamite in his bed this morning, he's not exploded.
The papers,
yeah. And it starts. Each episode started with the GM asking us to make a plan for X, Y, and Z things that we've decided we need to do. Rather than telling us like the prompt, and I liked that the GM in this, and I still don't know if that's how my GM in that game was running or if that's how it was written, but it seemed like instead of the GM having all the information and giving pieces and puzzles, the GM was giving us the freedom to do whatever the hell we wanted, like up front, just do something. And I know what's in the world, so I can tell you what you'll bump into if you do a thing. That's what I loved about it.
Same thing. That's what I've been really enjoying about it. Is as the game master, you are completely reactive. It's like I don't have to prep anything. The world is what the world is. I keep notes on that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, what would your characters want to do? Okay, how do we make that happen? What would that look like? Yes, that's gone horribly wrong or very well for you or whatever, and then that's where the roll of the dice comes
I think that's a skill that needs to come in to D&D more, but I think you have to play and DM D&D a lot more before you can get to that point.
I think there's a good merging of that for D&D now. It's come to like a place where, like you said, it started from like tactic games, war games, and it's over the years very much developed more into the role play side of things, and that kind of has taken on almost more importance to some people. There's a very big difference in certain like tables, like where you're like, oh, what kind of game are we going to be playing? We need to be on the same page about this, because I've had games where I'm like, the other guys here want to play a power gaming tactics RPG where it's all about the fighting, and I'm like, and I want to be my little gnome bard that sings a lovely song, and it's just like, and they're like, that's not helpful.
I've been at both ends of that table.
And the thing is, as long as you're all on the same page, it's really fun. But if you're not all on the same page, then it's difficult. But neither is wrong. It's just
100%.
Yeah.
It's that people care too much about what other people are doing at their tables.
Yeah.
I will argue to the day I die that I'm not a fan of systems and rule sets. I'm a fan of people around the table.
I definitely find that there's a big discrepancy with when we've tried to play like over Zoom or Discord and things like that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel right to me. Like
It's got to be in person.
I love it.
I gotta say, the thing because of the pandemic, the campaigns I was playing in switched from in person to Zoom.
Yeah.
And I have had trouble playing Zoom based games that aren't on camera. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Camera would definitely help. Yeah.
But because that's all. Every actual play I've ever done has been through Zoom meetings like this. And that made sense because we couldn't all be in the same room, and I'm performing to a fourth wall. So that to me that filled the gap that was missing. And going back to a home game that was trying to be a home game, I noticed the thing that was missing more, which is this is going to sound dumb, but you can't side talk as much.
Yeah.
So the camaraderie around the table doesn't exist because you're cutting someone's story off by accidentally talking to someone next to you. Whereas when you're performing for an audience of one person on the internet, there's an element of active listening that fills that role, that you're in character during those moments.
I think
so I 100% agree with you.
I actually find I enjoy playing the podcast most of the time more than I enjoy playing actual D&D, just because we're so focused. We're like we start
that's the
and we
active
just
listening.
do it.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes you play around the table, and not some people are just more there just for the social, and they're not quite as in, which is fine. But sometimes it's like, come on.
Again, it goes back to that same point though. As long as you're all on the same page, it's fine. If you're all on your phones and having a piss about and not really playing, but you're all having fun, that's great.
Exactly.
But if one person's like, no, I'm here to play and I'm really focused, guys, oh my god, why aren't you paying attention? It's frustrating.
Yeah. And I think that is where it comes down to the people that you're playing with. Because for me, in person is also a banquet. Like it's you're
the energy vampire.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's you bring snacks and goodies and have a potluck, and in between games or your turn in combat, you get up, you grab another piece of pie, and you come back, and like it's now I don't expect that to be part of a Zoom, like a video chat based game.
A bit weird if someone's just sitting there eating crisps and pizza, or you're like, can you stop?
But knowing that like in my in-person game does have that quality, the people that are there, even if they're more OP'd or even if they're more based on wanting to jump into combat all the time, that matters less because we're all there as part of coming together, just like to see each other.
Yeah. I feel as well, like when we do like podcasts and things like that, it's so much easier to have like character moments because it's easier to like shine a spotlight on one person and be like, they're doing their thing. Like, like Jack and Magnus, like Magnus will be, okay, I'm doing this interesting thing that ties into my backstory and I'm going to monologue about it. And there isn't somebody eating pizza and munching on their phone or like talking over them going, actually, we should do this next round of combat, because you can't. It's like, okay, they're talking, let them have their moment, then we'll move on kind of thing. Yeah. And I think that's really important because that's something that does get missed sometimes when you're having a home game.
I agree. So we've done a really good job of explaining what we love about role-playing games and storytelling. We forgot that there's a second part to this conversation because Baldur's Gate 3 came out, and it's a video game, not a role-playing game. So based on the conversation we just had, you hate video games? Is that what just happened?
Oh, no, but it's a very different beast.
Right, I think that, yeah.
Yeah, and I personally like the differences because in a lot of games, like video games I play single player, generally.
Oh, yeah.
That tends to be my vibe. So playing something like Baldur's Gate is like, I get all that D&D, but I can do it exactly my way the entire time. This is how I want my party to be all good people, and like my paladin is going to be a stand up for justice and righteousness, and he'd save those people and he'd smite that evil. Whereas I've played multiplayer with some people on Baldur's Gate 3, which is really fun, but it's chaos because it's like me having a lovely conversation, but like, don't worry, I'll help save your missing child, while one of my friends is in the background while I'm talking to them, just like stabbing me. Like, oh no.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely feels like D&D.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Love
it. Maybe
it.
the fundamental difference is single player versus multiplayer.
Yeah, I think it might
Maybe
be, to
that's
be
it.
fair, because
That might be it.
set wise, I think it's done a really good job of adapting what it's got. I mean, there are some minor changes, some things that are like more quality of life because it's a computer
I think
game.
there's some changes to the like base 5e rules that I really like that I think could be really good on the table.
Shove as a bonus action.
Shove as a bonus action, yeah. Potion as a bonus action.
Yeah. I like
that's a big one. Yeah. But I saw I watched someone's video on how they sort of like the changes, and they said if you do potion as a bonus action, you have to roll it. If you do potion as an action, you get the full.
See, I like
I think
that's quite good, yeah.
But we love homebrew rules anyway.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. We're all about that.
No.
Would I ever? But
yeah. The player's handbook hasn't left the shelf in months.
Yeah, my favorite moment from your guys' podcast is still from the last time we chatted, which is a number of episodes ago. Yeah.
And we picked too early.
and it's one of you yelling at the other one in game, cast a fucking spell, you idiot! Because you had decided to tackle like an alligator and wrestle it to the ground.
Yeah, I jumped on his head and tried to stab it instead of magic.
Oh, how the tables have turned on that as well.
Yeah. Without spoiling too much, I mean, it's all over the place now.
Oh, so what? The thing for me, not having played Baldur's Gate, there's someone else here who has not played Baldur's Gate, but playing. Thank you. So I didn't realize that they had integrated so many of the specific stats and rules in that manner. I do think there's a level of immersion with the graphics and exploring the world that I think is kind of peaceful in video game role-playing games. Through the pandemic, there's a bunch of people that like, not even in like Red Dead Redemption or like in Zelda, where they had favorite spots on like hills. They would just take their character and like lay down and like stare at the fake stars and like pretend that the world wasn't as bad as it was.
Yeah, but that even comes to that thing of people trying to force roleplay into games that weren't made for it, like GTA and Red Dead Redemption. Both during the pandemic, there were huge communities and servers popped up over playing that as a role-playing game. The servers got additional rules to sort of reward people for playing a character.
Yep. But the thing that I do not like in my video games in any version is grinding.
Yeah.
No, it depends on grinding one, really.
Here's the thing. I don't mind myself as a human grinding in a game that equals output and being better at the game. So I don't mind myself
increasing your skill level. Yeah.
Right. So like fighting games, racing games, shooters. Those are games in which if I
practice,
my skill equates being better at it. In role-playing games, it doesn't actually equate to being better at the game. I mean, your character in the game gets better, but you don't get better at like dealing with the situation in the same way.
I think that only comes with time.
Yeah, it's almost one of those things like especially early RPGs where it was just like I'm only grinding because it's like basically time gating things. To try and artificially lengthen how much the game is. It's too hard.
Especially when you've got games that are like World of Warcraft or like RuneScape or your MMO, their monthly subscriptions. They're like, well, we want you to be here as long as possible because then you keep paying every month.
And they're playing it's a digital Skinner box because you don't know what loot's gonna drop when. So you can go back to the same. You guys know what the Skinner box is?
No, not heard that term.
Okay.
You mean like a loot box? No.
Yeah, that's what I see.
So it's in all games now, and it's horrible. So Skinner was a psychologist, and he basically did a number of tests that I'm going to butcher that were the equivalent of having a vending machine that doesn't always give you your treat.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's What do you the thing where you pull the lever and it spins?
Yeah, like a casino jackpot.
Yeah,
one-arm bandit.
I think
It
the
was
important thing is
basically
just not to mix this up with Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah, Schrodinger's that too. So it was this conversation both exists and does not exist because it's not on the internet yet.
You pull the lever and the cat comes out the vending machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Only sometimes.
Yep. Oh no! And oh my god.
Every time, but it's not always there.
Exactly. But so the Skinner box was like, there's no skill involved. So like, even on like the lever pull things, there's not really a skill, but like there's a combination you're trying to hit. With a Skinner box, it's you press a single button and something happens or something doesn't. And because you don't know if the payout's coming, you're gonna keep playing to get payouts.
Yeah, it's playing like gambling. Kind of.
Exactly. So that is how the loot box drops in free-to-play games operate.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. They're so rife everywhere now.
Yeah, you can't avoid them.
It's an easy way to make money for a company, really, isn't it?
So there's ways that they're implemented that aren't as terrible. Like there's some where it's just like this thing has no actual bearing on the game. You just get like a little nice shiny thing. Whereas some are like, no, you need these specific items.
Yeah.
Like I think what's that? I think it's a Korean MMO that came out recently that's really popular. Or it got moved over
Lost
here.
Ark.
Lost Ark.
Yep.
That is just like to upgrade your gear. I mean, I might be entirely wrong. This is just what I've heard. I've never played it. Later on, you are essentially rolling the dice on the gear you have to either just get destroyed or it to go up one level.
So that's been a common thing in a lot of Asian MMOs, Korean, sort of Japanese, Chinese.
Oh, just like
there's always you can reinforce things up to a certain point, and then you need an item to guarantee it happening. Otherwise, your chance of failure is so high, you're just going to lose.
Oh yeah.
So the item that preserves it is always a cash op thing. They had it in Neverwinter actually.
This is why video games are bad.
2016.
No,
that's another D&D video game.
This is why the business of video games is bad.
That's fair.
Now I'm
never play video games. Just listen to our podcast.
Yay!
Tell you all about the good ones.
Yeah. But the grind. Yeah, that's the one thing that it pops up in games. In a particularly in RPGs, it pops up in a manner that makes me feel like I'm doing a job, like it's the same thing as going to work, and that's not what I'm here for. I'm not. It's not
because it doesn't make a lot of narrative sense either. If you think about it. If you've got a hero of the story, they're not going to go, "Oh yes, we do need to deal with this world-ending threat, but how I must go and do all these dungeons and kill all these enemies."
But first, 1 million rats.
But I want to get my smithing to 100, so I'm going to go make a bunch of iron daggers.
That's how you feel about it.
But also
training montage.
It is. That's what it is. But and I will argue that like in real life, if you in order to become like the hero we're perceiving in our mind, we have to go through those trials and tribulations that are boring and slog. And
how much of that as well is like trying to put a story on something that's not fun? Because again, humans love telling stories. Like, no, this is my training montage. This is how I'm going to become a better person, and stories will be foretold of how I got to level 3 businessman.
Level 3? Impressive.
So did you pick your businessman subclass?
Oh no!
Cubicle boy.
You have anemia from not being outside enough, and when you run to catch the bus, you lose 5 XP every time.
Yeah, we're just playing like Dungeons and Dragons in reverse. So it's like humans and jobs.
Fantasy creatures playing D&D is just.
I still legitimately view exercise as me leveling up my character. Like I've thought of this since I was like 15 years old. But like every time like I can do something I couldn't do before physically, I'm like, ooh, I reached a new level. And
unlocked.
Exactly. And I've also
that's why the tracking's so popular now. Like all
exactly.
The things track fitness,
gamifying things definitely makes it easier for me to do them. I know that's something I've done in the past. Like, my running app I've got is like a zombie story.
Yeah,
it's great. And I don't really enjoy running, but I enjoy listening to a fun story about zombie apocalypse
and not getting caught.
Yeah. It's terrifying as well. There's like a hit training mode in it where it's like the zombies are 5 meters behind you. Run faster, and you're like, oh no, oh no.
I love it. That's awesome. There was I don't know if it still exists. There's a habit tracking app called Habatica. Have you guys heard of it?
Yeah, I've used that before. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an 8-bit pixel RPG that you. The thing I love about it is that you can customize your goals and habits that you want to track. And it does, like, you can pair up in a party, and like within things that you do or don't do that you check in, the party as a whole is fighting like a creature, which is exciting. But I always find, because of how habit works for me, or habit tracking works, that is great for like a week, and then my character dies all of a sudden, and I don't know why. And it's definitely brings back flashbacks of like how long my Tamagotchi used to last for, which was
where did all these poos come from?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I've used that as well. I really enjoyed that.
I don't think that's quite doesn't work for me. I don't think my brain's in the right place, because I'll just be like, I've set this up. I've set my own goal, so I'm not.
Oh yeah, that's my problem. That's my
So I'm just gonna be like, I've set this goal. I can decide that I'm not gonna carry on with it.
You mod every game you play.
Yes,
that's you setting your own goals.
but I'm playing a video. Maybe the issue is I don't have any urge to better myself.
That's also fair. That's
there's the meat of the issue.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're coming up around on the end of the episode. That was
cool. Bye then.
Final verdict on the difference between Baldur's Gate the game and exploring Baldur's Gate in a D&D setting. Final verdicts.
I think both are absolutely great and valid. I personally think I get different things out of both.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
I will happily play D&D when there's people around to play it, and I'll play Baldur's Gate when there isn't. So
yeah.
Am I wrong in believing that Baldur's Gate has a multiplayer option?
Yeah,
it does. Yeah,
it does.
Up to 4 players. So there's a 4-person party, so you can each have, if you do, because me and my wife are co-op in it as well. So she's got 2 characters and I've got 2 characters. But you can have up to 4 people playing individual custom characters. So yeah, you can just make your own D&D party.
It's not the same though.
I think the issue is you then don't get to interact with the in-game characters because you don't have them in your party.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you 2, since you guys are playing it, and there's no guarantee that us 2 will ever. You 2 have homework. You 2 have to attempt playing with a full party of human characters, so we can report on the differences of that experience.
Well, I have actually done that, and it is painful.
I was going to say, Matt has done that, and for that reason, I won't be. So...
my report is I've gone down to playing with 1 other person at most.
It's basically so it sounds like it brings out the worst part of initiative, which is thinking everybody knows the plan, but they don't.
It is 100% that. Like, I'll be like, me and one friend were like, we're really into the role-playing side of this. We're talking to all the people. We want to do the quests. We want to get all the lore from all the bits and pieces, talking to everyone, picking up all the items, reading all the books. And the other 2 are like literally pickpocketing them while we're trying to have a conversation, starting combat with everyone. Oh no, the entire village is dead.
So what you're saying is the lack of, because there isn't a DM to go stop.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that is it. There is no, because the PC is definitely like the game itself is the dungeon master there. There is no person going, guys, are you sure you want to do that? Because they're having a moment. Like, do you want to just call it for 5 minutes?
That makes sense.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. That was fantastic. We're going to wrap up for today. Thank you for hanging out. I'll see you guys again next week.
Yeah, see you next
week. See you later.